Maybe you've heard his name before. Maybe this is the first time. Either way, heading into the 2024-2025 hockey playing season, the one name that should be on everybody's minds for the 2025 NHL Entry Draft is James Hagens. Now, if you've been doing your research around the hockey world, you might have already seen some of his stuff. You might have already seen some highlights of Hagens out of the US NTDP. There are some great videos on YouTube, like the one published by David St. Louis on Elite Prospects from yesterday, that really showcase what Hagens is as a player, what kind of caliber of talent he provides, and where he should be taken in the draft. Spoiler alert, David St. Louis and many other outlets believe that Hagens will be the first overall player. He's 17 years old, 5'10", 172, born on November 3rd, 2006. So, yeah. We're getting old, guys. He's from Hauppauge, New York, USA, and his consolidated ranking for the 2025 draft is 1. Chris Peters has him at 1, so does Daily Faceoff and Draft Prospects Hockey, and for good reason, too. James Hagens with the NTDP U18 team last year scored 102 points in 58 games played. He also played for Team USA at the World Under-18, scoring 22 points in 7 games, and he really is just that darn good. Going over to the NTDP's total record books, if you sort by draft -1 players in the NTDP, and you sort by points per game, James Hagens ranks 4th overall, just behind Austin Matthews, Jack Hughes, and Phil Kessel. It's a really limited list of guys who are able to produce this amount of points in their draft -1 year. And for Hagens, heading into 2024-2025, he'll spend this season as a freshman with the Boston College Eagles in the NCAA. This is almost like a repeat of what we had seen out of Macklin Celebrini last year, USHL phenom who eventually found himself in the NCAA as a freshman, and then he went first overall and went pro. Macklin Celebrini became the 4th player in NCAA history to win the Hobey Baker Award for the MVP of the league as a freshman, the other 3 being Paul Kariya, Jack Eichel, and Adam Fantilli. Will James Hagens be the next guy to do the same? Who really knows? But the reason we are talking about James Hagens in this video is not necessarily because we wanted to give a scouting report. There are many other videos on YouTube that will give you that same report, and quite frankly, I feel like my time talking about prospects and breaking them down is kind of past nowadays, not gonna lie. The reason, though, we're talking about Hagens is because of an article published on TVA Sports yesterday by Nicolas Cloutier. Hockey's next big thing, James Hagens, has more in common with Montreal than you might think. Yeah, we're talking about the Habs, baby. Let's read this article together. It will be linked in the description. It's translated from French into English. At first glance, Nick Cloutier writes, there might not seem to be much that connects 2025 draft class leader James Hagens to the Montreal Canadiens, but you might be surprised at the affinities between the Quebec metropolis and the next hockey prodigy. The one we'll see in months in advance being selected at the very top of the draft. The one we see following in the footsteps of Austin Matthews and Jack Hughes. The article opens up by talking about how Hagens grew up in New York, so not really in the Montreal area, but in Hagens' inner circle, at least one person will be promoting Montreal. Canadiens prospect Michael Hage, a first-round pick, 21st overall, in Las Vegas last summer. He's a good friend of mine, Hage said in an interview with TVA Sports. My brother played with him for a long time. He's the life of the party, always the clown. Hagens is so talented, he dictates the play, he always wants the puck. Coaches want players like that, those who want to change the pace of game. Okay, great, so there's already one connection between Hagens and the Habs. In fact, there's another one. Hagens recently took his first step on the ice with his teammates at Boston College, the team he'll play for with his brother in the NCAA the year he is drafted. He got to know the man who embodies the future of the Habs between the pipes, Jacob Fowler, the goaltender. I've been challenging him on the ice for a few days, Hagens said. He's one of the best goalies in the country, obviously. He makes it look easy, and for a goalie, that's a feat. He's so good, it's hard to beat him. You take the goals when they come through. Which led to Hagens talking about Montreal. We expected the usual bad refrain, "I'd be happy to play for any team and the Canadiens have a rich history." You get the idea. There was a little bit of that, but mostly, the folks on TVA got a thoughtful response. Montreal apparently aroused a certain fascination in Hagens, who, as a child, was envious of the icy surfaces that crisscrossed the city. "I've been in Montreal for a few tournaments," James Hagens said. "What stood out to me about it is that you can show up at school down the street and there'll be an outdoor rink. I think it's one of the coolest things in the world." The people there, they're so lucky to have that. We don't have a lot of neighborhood rinks, really, on Long Island. When I see one, I think of Montreal. I think of the fans and the team they have there. Montreal is such a beautiful place, and it would be so cool to play there. And that right there, ladies and gentlemen, is exactly what Habs fans will face as a dilemma this upcoming year. Obviously, it is so great to hear prospects, talented ones at that, potential first overall picks at that, talking about how cool Montreal is and how great it would be to play in Montreal. And then you have to realize, okay, wait, the Canadiens are supposed to take steps forward this upcoming year, right? Slafkovsky's supposed to be better, Laine's supposed to score goals, Caulfield too, and everybody else is supposed to improve. So if the Montreal Canadiens, by some miraculous fingerprint left by the hockey gods, are able to get the first overall pick, if by some miracle they pull it off, then you know the guy that's coming over is going to be grateful for it. Now, that's not to discredit James Hagens probably being grateful for whomever it is that's going to draft him. We kind of know what we're getting into when we talk about these prospects and what teams they would be interested to go to, but for Hagens to have Montreal pointed out to him as a destination this early on kind of sets the bar for what hype could exist there. Just imagine, James Hagens could follow in the footsteps of Jack Hughes and Austin Matthews and be a #1 franchise-defining center. If you wanted to have this guy and Demidov on the same line with Slafkovsky, that's a triple threat first overall caliber line right there. Suzuki, Caulfield, Doc could be your line #2. Add on Josh Waugh. Add on Michael Hage, add on Owen Beck and Philip Machar to round out the rest of your top 9 and extend into the bottom 6. The Montreal Canadiens with James Hagens at their disposal will absolutely tear worlds apart and eat them up for breakfast. I mean, we'd been saying this entire time, Demidov is like the most talented Montreal Canadiens pure prospect that we have seen since Guy Lafleur. Imagine one-upping that in a year with James Hagens. And to hear himself that he would be interested in coming over to Montreal too, that is absolutely crazy. Now, to finish off the article, let's go out there and read some of the extra things that Nick Kluche writes here that hype up Hagens and how good he's going to be. Expectations will be high for Hagens, who had 102 points in 58 games as a 16-year-old with the US NTDP and who broke Nikita Kucherov's U18 World Championship scoring record with 22 points in 7 games. The mental prep work seems well underway to handle this pressure. Does he expect to be chosen first overall? Is that a goal? Hagens says, right now, I'm just focused on the team. The goal is to win the national championship. As long as you put your goals ahead of the team's, things can go off the rails. I'm going to do everything I can to win the championship. That is the angle that I want to cover. He also says here, towards the end of the interview, that the way he plays the game kind of feels a bit like Jack Hughes and Logan Cooley. A comparison that provoked a shy laugh from Hagens, who, nevertheless, acknowledges the similarities. Yes, my game is inspired in some way by those two players. We play the same way. Is it speed and creativity that form the distinctive features of Hagens' style? My playmaking skills and my skating, he corroborated. My ability to create space, create offense, my sense of the game is an important part of my arsenal. And with that in mind, I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the next first overall pick, James Hagens, and how he says that Montreal would be a great destination for him to play. What are your thoughts on the idea of the Canadiens even contending for the first overall pick this upcoming year? Do you think it's possible? Do you think it's going to happen? Do you think the Canadiens are going to be too good for the first overall sweepstakes this upcoming year? No matter what, it's a win, right? Because it's either you get a top-tier prospect, a Jack Hughes caliber prospect, or you maybe make the playoffs and miss out. Who really knows? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about James Hagens and this interview. Link is in the description of the TVA Sports article. I hope you enjoyed this video. And bye.